right, we are back for another episode of AUTOMOTIVATED, and I am lucky enough to be here with Frank Leutz, host of Wrench Nation, owner of Desert Car Care in Chandler. It is so great to see you.
Right on. Well, I appreciate you having me, and it's all good. I love hanging with my bolt-on family.
I was just about to say, we're getting the family back together. We were just talking about before we came on that, the events that we were at together and where we got to see each other. And I know there's some fun things coming up for sure, but we're so happy to finally have you on an episode of AUTOMOTIVATED.
Yeah, right on. I think we need to celebrate life and never forget the feeling of that cold chain lifting that garage bay door, the spirit of your business, but also some of the metrics, as we'll talk about here in a minute.
Absolutely. And we have such a great topic. And I think this is one that is not only going to be something that really challenges a lot of the people that are tuning in, AUTOMOTIVATED, or joining us after, but really puts into perspective, especially with everything, the environment that we've been living in, that you're putting people first. And I think it's going to be really important to talk about. So we're going to talk about the debate of car count versus people count. And I know that this is something that you're super passionate about because it's not always about the numbers.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, you got to observe the metrics, and we can, look, a lot of our viewers can relate. Sometimes you get into that analysis paralysis, especially if you've done really well, you're growing, and then you've got that correction to your business. But I think within the frameworks of any metric or KPI that you're maintaining and growing and bringing your team on, it all comes back down to the people count. I mean, whether it's your clients that are coming in, or whether it's hashing out some situations that you have within the culture of your business in the back shop. And in fact, I'll go to further say, part of the dilemma that we currently have, the shortage is real with technicians, is because we didn't get this right for many years, not just in the aftermarket, but in the OE world as well. And so it really is time for those, whether you're a young 3-year operator or whether you're a seasoned pro with 30 years under your belt as a business, that mantra of people has to be promoted. Absolutely.
And I think you make a really great point here, because when we're talking about people, not only is it the customers that you have coming in and out of your shop every single day, but it's the people that you have loyal to your team. Both, when you're looking at both, there's so many things. And to your point, I really like how you said, this is a problem that people have been getting wrong, and it's been affecting the tech shortage that we've had and how difficult and how competitive the markets are. Because if you don't take care of your people, then you can't expect your people to take care of you and your business.
Yeah. So how about your parts people? How about your parts driver? I mean, how about just a little candy for the poor old parts driver that's getting yelled at all day? That individual is still a part of the business function. I mean, I know it sounds rudimentary, but it's the whole mantra of taking care of people. And so here's another one that we're seeing now. And in fact, I think news reports came out yesterday that state to state, it's a little different, but many states are going to, if you're going to advertise, technician now hiring kind of ad, you have to be transparent about the pay, right? So how about looking at that whole structure? Some of us are, we're not desperate, but we're really needing help in our service facilities. Why not get involved with your team to make sure that that whole process goes the way it should? So it's not just hiring an individual that's talented and can do the drivability in your garage, but how's that fit look inside the culture of your garage? What's the input from your team on that? It reduces any anxiety about a new hire and so on and so forth. So, it all does come down to the people of your community. How many have a monthly calendar about what it is, whether it's an hour show up at a chamber or a full-on media hit event in your parking lot that promotes community first? Like, as small business with limited dollars, we focus on the time element. Like, how am I spending my time? I recently had a client come in, and we told them, it doesn't happen often because we're selling the procedure. We're sort of presenting the package and never presenting how much we charge per hour. But he happened to ask, and he thought that was high. And I said, okay, well, let me ask you, what about your time? What's it cost for your time? In fact, can I raise the labor rate? Because he got excited about that. So it's a different arena. It's a different world of not only transparency, but for us to get to that next level, especially in this climate, a lot of us are busy. And a lot of us are streamlining and choosing the kind of work, which is a whole nother subject. How about a team meeting with your group about the expertise that you have and not just taking in every single car? You can't include people count, especially in the back shop, if we're aligning technicians for failure. Yes. Because we're taking in a repair that shouldn't be in our shop. So these are all things that need to be included. And again, I speak to a lot of my younger entrepreneurs, great seasoned technicians that are now in business. You know, it's not good enough to fix cars well. You'll find out real fast that sometimes that can even backfire. So it's really important to have that culture.
Absolutely. And like, I love how you talk about culture, because honestly, for a lot of the people that are going to be tuning into this today, that are going to be rewatching this, that Bolt On really thrives off of, you know, they're shop owners, and culture starts at the top. So what are the things that you recommend from a shop owner, people that are leadership within your shop, to really make sure that this is a priority and that you're putting your people first always?
Number one, take the lowest individual on the totem pole. And I want to speak on this because we destroyed it for years. The entry level, perhaps as we call them, lube technicians, whatever, C technicians, take that individual and ask him what he likes to do and center the whole journey of celebration, which means it could be the restaurant, it could be a hotel resort weekend, it could be whatever it is that floats your boat in your organization. Don't forget the little guy on the totem pole. Because guess what we're doing right now? We're scrambling, saying we can't find youngsters to work in our business. Well, let's get the mop out of his hand. Let's get the bucket away from his service bay. Pair him up 10 hours a week with the lead technician to give the kid some hope. And so start any method of culture with the low person on the totem pole, and then group it together as a team. Make sure you lead individuals to understand it doesn't count because they've got 30 years under their belt. It counts on how they're leading the culture with the youngsters that you're trying to groom in your tribe. And that's critical. We don't do enough of it. We do everything backwards that way. So, you know, start there. That's critical. I hope that answers that. Did I answer it?
I think that it does, you know, and I think that's really great. And we recently did, a whole conversation around shifting your legacy technician. And there was a lot of feedback that we got, and it wasn't always positive, but it talks about how the technician that's been the expert in your shop, that's been your go-to person for decades now, how it is so important to shift them into a leadership role, into someone who's going to grow your team, into someone who's going to nurture those low totem pole people to build up your team. And at the end of the day, I am a firm believer of the high tide rises all. And that's how it should be in your shop. That's how you're going to get people to grow. That's how you're going to create a family within your shop, that people are all working towards the same goals. And when you're all working towards the same goals, you're doing right by your customers.
Yeah, you know, I deal with many shop owners across the country, and I hear things, obviously, as many watching now have their peer network, and they hear things. Bottom line is it's not the garage of old, where it's just assumed that the youngster on the lube line is dead weight, and we're not going to pay attention to that. Many of you still have 10, 15, 20 years to go. And so without beating it up, I just got to say, anything that you lead in your operation, as an entrepreneur of a collision shop, an automotive shop, even if you're a coach, you guys know this, all the coaches out there, you got to take that bottom rock and refine that first. It just has to happen, or else it's really, you're chasing the wrong thing, and you will have turnover.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So what would you say, how do the most successful shops, and I'm saying most successful, we've talked about the ways that you can measure success, and we're trying to shift off of the standard numbers that everybody has gone to, that they're looking at car count, but we're talking about the most successful shops. How are they prioritizing their people?
They're taking time out to reflect. What happens is, and it happens to all of us, I can speak personally, my first operation in 95, I was so stuck in the weeds about the job at hand, never realizing that there has to be a moment of reflection, whether that's in the morning, whether that's at Saturday, whether that's an evening having a drink. There must be a reflection of not just how we did or how I did or how they did, but the mantra to your business. And a lot of that starts with writing out. I'm an advocate of a monthly marketing calendar. In fact, those of you listening now, you know, some of you I've sent, not that I have the Holy Grail, but I've sent you my marketing calendar and it has those events. And so the idea here is high altitude, look at your business. Now, here's an argument a lot of folks are saying, and I've had these kind of conversations. Well, you can't be working in your business. And I get it. You know, you get to a certain level, it's like you got to work on your business. But how about just passioning through the business for the benefit of the business, which will require, I'm a drivability technician. I'll never stop growing that. I'm an entrepreneur. I love many things. If I'm short, and I got 2 masters, if I'm short and they need help, you can guarantee that I'll be picking up a lab scope. And for those of you that have said, well, you need to be sipping Mai Tais on the beach, working on strategy, that can wait, because that's what we need right now. Answer your business call. Don't forget that, because what happens is we can easily look at the other side of the fence, especially when we're doing well, and say, okay, well, I'm going to do this now, and I'm not going to be in tune to what's really the pulse of your business. You know, if you're running 20 stores, I get it. That may be a little different. I learned this from Lou Grubb, Chevrolet, when I started wrenching. Lou Grubb was high and mighty. That's a man that would always come down to the pit and visit, roll up his sleeves. And that was an early year mentor for me. So I think those of you out there that are running your operations, whether you like it or not, whether you want it or not, you know, people are mentoring every move. The toilet's plugged, pick up the plunger, lead that way. It creates a whole different culture. And look, I'm saying, yeah, take as many vacations as you can, but don't forget the pulse, the vibe of your tribe. Do what you have to do to keep that alive. Those vacations will always be there.
Absolutely. I could not agree more with you with everything that you just mentioned there. If you're not a part of your business, you're never going to have the pulse of your business, and you're never going to be able to direct, inspire, motivate your team without having a good understanding of what's going on in the bays, what's going on in the shop, what's going on with your customers. And I think there is this, and I don't know if you feel the same way, there is this mentality of, you know, there's this entrepreneur wave where it's no longer cool to be a celebrity. It's cool to be an entrepreneur. And a lot of people want to be motivated, but sometimes they're motivated by the wrong things, where they forget, yeah, sometimes you got to do the dirty work and sometimes you got to do the hard things, but that's what's going to move your business forward. That's what's going to inspire your team to follow your mission and get you all part of the same goals.
Yeah, you know, I got to speak on social media. It's a double-edged sword, and many listening right now realize, again, look, the value of time is huge, including building culture. I want to mention social media because a lot of folks will get disappointed regarding how many people like my stuff, how many people like my brand. And the thing about it is this: you got to take it all with a grain of salt. And the idea at the end of the day is never forget, am I converting the type of client that I want? I'm not Kardashian. I'm not a celebrity. So I may not be focusing on Instagram. Maybe I'm focusing on LinkedIn because I want to get to the decision maker with that fleet account. Maybe I'm branding there. But the idea is, many have just said, screw social media because it's not working for my business, when in all reality, there is no plan to that. And I think that affects, it really does. We both know that little red alert bell, that's a psychological whoop, endorphins increase. Look, Mark Zuckerberg was pretty smart. And so we have a tendency to get into that and realize, oh my gosh, I don't have this attraction factor. Well, you're in the wrong arena, in certain respects. So I do think that social media has its benefits, but the tone here is really all to do with your people and how you're expressing their story. If you're going to be, and that includes, hey, your lead guy, his wife just had twins, and I know a lot of folks are doing that. But the fact is, tell the story and be realistic about how not people aren't liking your brand, but how the algorithms can be jacked up. That's the fact, right? That's just the way it works. So absolutely. I hope that adds a layer to culture, because I have talked to quite a few operators across the country, and they're frustrated with their efforts regarding social media. You got to take that all with a grain of salt.
Absolutely. We couldn't agree more. And, I think one of the things coming from, a technology standpoint is our goal is to provide shops and their team the tools to make them do their job better, right? So we talked about transparency. We know that we have tools to help provide transparency, but ultimately, a lot of the conversations that we're having with shop owners ourselves is, what are the tools? What are the things that your team needs to do their job well, to make sure that they have the resources that they need and things along those lines. And that could be everything from, the back of your shop to the front of your shop and, what everybody needs. So I think when it comes down to culture, we're talking about getting to know your people, getting to know what inspires them, but I think a lot of that also comes back to helping them do their job well, whether that's from a mentoring standpoint, from a training standpoint, from a tool standpoint. All of these things can really make the difference to inspire them to do well.
So here we go. You've got a beautiful lounge. You've got the most expensive piece of granite that you can service folks with as they pull up into your facility. You've got the latest equipment. You've got the latest for technology by way of diagnosing vehicles. And your inspection is so antiquated. But you have a mantra that you want to be transparent and do right by people. It doesn't exist. Your goal as a business should be, I must hear a phrase, and it's a simple phrase. How come you didn't send me my digital inspection? That's not a problem, right? So I could go on and on about transparency. And one of the things I've got to say in the digital realm for technicians that we've heard, and I've heard it from other shop owners, is like, okay, this is great, but it takes too long.
Behavior, we've heard it all.
Behavior is a tough thing, especially if you've got a seasoned 20-year guy that was trained improperly about how to do an inspection elsewhere for just about his whole career. Behavior is difficult. For those of you that are thinking about digital inspections and you're on the fence and you're like, too much time, I can still build a ticket without it. Remember, give yourself a chance, not in the digital arena, but in the behavior arena. It's going to take time. But the fact is, we've been doing digital for, I think, almost 7 years now. The fact is, if I miss a digital inspection, I'm getting a phone call. My people aren't getting the call. So it's a win-win. The other thing that it helps us, we can all agree, especially with those first-time visits that say, hey, I came into your place because you got rock star reviews, but they're still untrusting, because they've been dealt a dirty hand elsewhere. Let's face it. I think the industry is getting better on a whole in that level. I think a lot of those folks are going out of business, but you've inspected their vehicle without a digital inspection, and you said their brakes are great. They go on a road trip. They have a problem with a tire, let's say. They end up in San Diego or New Jersey at some questionable place, and they say, you need brakes. Well, we know they don't need brakes, but how do we prove that? So, there's so much. And I got to add on that, part of culture, and I know there can be some conflict on views of this, but I think most listening right now, they're not micromanaging their operation. They have processes and procedures in place, of to which includes one's self-measurement of how they did. So my technicians can review. We're not looking to go through fast and furious on these inspections, but they can review themselves on how they did. And I think that is a part of culture. And then it comes together as a group, whether I'm involved or we have our service manager involved. that allows you, we all need self-measurement, and it's a way for one to lead a team meeting instead of Frank sitting there I'm giving a flat line. You must do this, you must do this. Self-reflection. Every good athlete has a great coach. The system is the coach. The self-reflection is that internal fire. And then sometimes without having any sort of benchmark, process, procedure, or any way to measure it, in this case digitally through the inspections, it's a tough way to go. What are we trying to remove from the business on the whole when we talk about culture? The wrong type of emotion. Now, I don't want to get personal with somebody. If we have a correction in productivity, we want to go back on the performance. And why not lead the conversation? How are you doing? What do you think? Well, everyone wants to think they're doing really good. I'm the bomb pick, right? If we've got a reference point where they're self-measuring, then it's an honest conversation, and it takes away from emotion and keeps that process protected, and you hope to turn around productivity. So, I mean, it's a win-win.
Absolutely. No, I think that's such a great point. And, you know, I hope this really does challenge people to take a second look at what they're doing to lead their shop, because at the end of the day, culture matters. And oftentimes people put culture on the back burner for the numbers, for the dollars, for different things, not noticing the direct correlation that really does have to building a winning team. So, Frank, it is always a pleasure getting to chat with you. I know we've been so excited.
I have one more point. I'm just going to do this real quick because it's important.
Love it.
It works in the opposite sense when it comes to culture. We are not day traders with 18 screens. It does not have to be analysis paralysis. Many of us are measuring like we're just overloaded, and we forget the blood pulse to a technician that's standing in front of us. So streamline your system. And if you are using a digital platform, don't overdo it. Keep it simple. Keep it streamlined. And, you know, our process isn't perfect, but digitally, it's been working for 7 years.
So the proof is here. The proof is here. Now, Frank, I love it. So tell us a little bit about what's next for Bolt On and your team. You know, we're always excited to collaborate, so I know we have a few exciting things coming up.
Yeah, so first off, I want to see each and every one of you at the Bolt On booth. We're actually going to have a Wrench Nation studio set up right at Joe's Garage. We're going to have fun with that. And you guys, join us at the booth. I'm excited. And then today, head over to wrenchnation.tv. It's an automotive lifestyle show. We've had Magnus Walker on. I've had Princess Vidita Singh from Bhawani, India, talking about her automotive art, over 240 shows. And today, we're getting into a little lowrider action. We got Richard Ochoa with Lowrider Magazine. Of course, there's a big lowrider show coming up here in Scottsdale and, of course, in Vegas. And I'd love to see you guys and hang. Let's talk truth. Let's roll up sleeves. And never forget to celebrate life. That's wrenchnation.tv. You can check it out.
Awesome. Frank, we know we're going to be tuning in later, but we know we're also super excited for Joe's Garage. That's going to be a fun time for sure.
Yes,
so it's always a great time when we get the family back together, but I want to thank you so much. I know that I'm feeling automotivated. How are you feeling?
I'm always automotivated.
Awesome. Well, we want to know what you're doing to improve culture at your shop. Make sure you let us know your story down below. Let us know the things that have worked for you. Let us know the things that also haven't worked for you. This is a community where we're trying to collaborate, and we want to hear directly from our shop. So thank you so much, and we'll see you next time.
Take care, guys.